My name is Chan and at 14 years old, you're going to foster care. My mom said I can't take care of all the kids. My sister got to stay and got a brand new car to help her cope. I didn't argue. I just said, understood. 3 days later, a lawyer showed her one document and she was begging to take me back. If you have ever felt betrayed by the people who should have been your biggest supporters, let me know where you are watching from. I'm middle kid, which pretty much says it all. You spend your life between other people's priorities, like furniture no one remembers ordering. I never thought I'd end up in foster care, not in a million years. I wasn't the type. I did okay in school. I wasn't getting into fights or sneaking out. I made my bed. I brushed my teeth. I said thank you even when no one said, you're welcome. But none of that mattered the week my dad died. It was 3 days after the funeral. The house was full of flowers already starting to rot in their vases. Everything smelled like wilted lice and the plastic wrap off frozen lasagna trays. My mom, Renee, had been quiet since the service. Not sad, just silent, like someone unplugged her. I was in the kitchen trying to eat a banana. It was overripe and mushy, but I couldn't bring myself to throw it out. She came in and asked if I could come upstairs. I thought maybe she was going to talk to me about Dad. Maybe she finally wanted to check on me. Maybe she realized I hadn't said more than 5 words in 2 days. She sat on the edge of her bed and folded her hands in her lap like she was preparing to deliver news she didn't want to say out loud. I've been talking to the agency, she said, and they have a place ready. I didn't understand it. First agency for foster placement, she said, so casual it almost didn't register. Just until things are more manageable, I stare at her. Wait, you mean for me? She nodded once. Jan, I can't take care of all the kids right now. It's too much. Everything's upside down and I'm barely holding things together. I felt my throat tighten. So, you're sending me away. I'm not sending you away. I'm making a decision that's best for everyone, especially you. You'll be somewhere stable with people who can give you attention. The room was spinning, or maybe I was. What about Aubrey? I asked. And Caleb. Aubrey is finishing her senior year. She's got a lot on her plate. Caleb's still a baby. He needs consistency. You're the one who's most likely to adapt. That word adapt, like I was a pet being rehomed. Like I'd grow into a new life just fine with the right lighting and enough kibble. You packed already? I asked. She nodded toward the door. A small duffel bag sat there zipped up. Just the essentials. They said you can bring more later. My heart was pounding, but I couldn't let her see it. When? They'll be here in 20 minutes. There was a ringing in my ears. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to ask her what I did wrong, why she could hug Aubrey and rock Caleb to sleep, but look at me like I was a problem to solve. Instead, I swallowed hard and said, understood. It came out small, quieter than I meant it, but she heard it. She stood up, straightened the hem of her sweater, and walked past me like we were done. Conversation over. Just another task checked off her list. Downstairs, Aubrey was sitting on the porch steps. She had the keys to her brand new car dangling from her fingers like they were nothing. It still had the dealership sticker on it. She didn't look up when I came out. Just said, it's not forever, okay? I didn't answer. There was no okay in this situation. Caleb was inside watching cartoons. He waved through the window like I was heading to summer camp. I didn't wave back. The woman from the agency showed up. She asked if I had everything I needed. I nodded. There wasn't much to take. No one said goodbye. No last hug. No one stood at the door to watch me leave. The ride was quiet. She tried to ask me a few things. What school I went to, what subjects I liked. But I didn't feel like talking. I wasn't being rude. I just didn't have anything left to say. The foster home was fine, clean, come a little too cheerful. They gave me a room upstairs and told me to make myself at home. But home wasn't a word that meant anything anymore. I unpacked my bag and sat on the bed. There was a poster on the wall that said, "You matter," I stared at it for a while. I didn't cry that night. I didn't sleep much. I kept thinking maybe mom would change her mind. Maybe she'd see my empty seat at dinner and realize she made a mistake. Maybe she'd drive over, hug me, and say, "Come home." But she didn't. And what I didn't know, what I couldn't have guessed, was that 3 days later, she would be the one begging me to come back. Not because she missed me, but because of a letter she never saw coming. I used to think I was imagining it, the way my mom looked through me sometimes, like I was a window technically there, but not something you actually see. I'd ask her something and she'd blink like I had interrupted a thought she wasn't planning to share. It wasn't always that way. Not exactly. When I was little, I thought I was just difficult or weird or invisible by accident. Like maybe there was something about me that made it hard for her to connect. I figured it would pass. I'd do something amazing one day, and she'd finally see me. But that day never came. My dad did see me, though. He used to call me Quiet Thunder, said I didn't need to be loud to be strong. He was the kind of person who remembered what you were wearing when you said something smart. He'd bring me chocolate milk after school and say, "Don't tell the others." We didn't talk all the time, but when we did, I felt like I mattered, like I wasn't just a prop in someone else's life. But my mom, Renee, had a different way of loving people. If you were easy, shiny, or impressive, she leaned in. She liked things that look good in photos. Aubrey, my older sister, fit that perfectly. She was the kind of girl who looked flawless even when crying. She wore mascara to funerals. She cried in lowercase cursive. And Caleb, my little brother, was the baby. He could spill milk on the floor, and she'd rush to clean it with a smile. I once dropped a glass when I was 12 and got a full lecture on irresponsibility. I was the middle, the filler child, not charming enough to be adored, not small enough to be babied, just there. Still, I never thought she'd actually get rid of me. The Faster family was decent. They asked me if I liked meatloaf. I said I didn't care. They offered board games. I said, no thanks. They weren't bad people, just strangers trying to be polite while I quietly unravel in a room with inspirational quotes on the walls. I didn't cry. I didn't break down. I didn't even ask questions. But I did keep checking my phone. I checked it like someone checking the weather, knowing full well the forecast was bad, but hoping for a miracle. Nothing came. I had this tiny idea in my head. Maybe she'd realize she went too far. Maybe she'd come to her senses. That sending your child away because things got complicated wasn't something you came back from clean. 2 days in, I started to let go of that idea. And then I opened Instagram. Not on purpose. I wasn't scrolling for pain. But sometimes your fingers betray you. The first photo that popped up was Aubrey standing next to her new car, the one mom gave her as a funeral coping gift. The caption said, "Trying to heal one day at a time." In the background, you could see Caleb sitting on the hood eating a slice of pizza. My mom smiling, holding a soda can like it was champagne. There was a string of emojis, red hearts, hugging faces. A comment from one of mom's friends. "So proud of you for staying strong. Family first." I stared at the screen for a long time, not because I was shocked, but because of how not shocking it felt. There was a photo of the family without me. No mention, no hint, not even a cryptic post about hard choices or missing someone. Just a party, a celebration of survival. And I was the thing they'd survived. That's when the hope shut off. I stopped checking my phone. Stop looking at the front door like maybe someone would come knock. Stop picturing my bed at home, my old desk, the blanket Dad gave me 2 birthdays ago. I was done. It didn't even hurt the way I thought it would. It was quieter than that, like being underwater and realizing you're not swimming anymore, just floating, not drowning, not fighting, just letting go. The next morning, the social worker met me after school. She said, "There's something you need to be present for. It's about your dad's will." I blinked. His what? His estate. A reading of the will. The lawyers asked for you specifically. I didn't say anything right away, just nodded. I wasn't sure why they needed me there. I figured maybe there was a sentimental item, some old watch or book he wanted me to have. I couldn't imagine he had much. We lived comfortably, sure, but it wasn't like we were rich. My mom always acted like we were barely keeping up. Every time I needed new shoes, it was a discussion. The foster mom drove me to the law office the next day. He tried to ask if I was okay. I said I was fine. She didn't press. I walked into that waiting room and saw them all. Mom in a clean black blazer, Aubrey next to her in something designer looking. Caleb curled up in a chair with a tablet. They looked like they were there for a brunch reservation, not a will reading. I stood near the door and didn't say a word. Mom looked up when she saw me. Her face cracked just a little, not enough to be called guilt, but maybe uncertainty. The lawyer came out and invited us in. He didn't look surprised to see me. We all sat. I was across from my mother. She didn't make eye contact. And then he opened a folder and said, "I'm here today to read the final will and testament of Mark Edward Markham. The entirety of the estate, including the house, financial accounts, and personal effects, is to be transferred to Jan Rose Markham." The air in the room changed. Aubrey's mouth dropped open. Mom blinked once, then twice. Caleb kept tapping his tablet. "Excuse me," Mom said, her voice already cracking. The lawyer didn't flinch. "It's clearly outlined. Everything has been left to Jan Soler." "But she's 14, Mom argued. "I'm aware," he replied. "Provisions have been made for temporary guardianship and trust management. But the will is valid." She looked at me then, really looked at me. I looked right back. There was something behind her eyes I couldn't quite name. Fear maybe, or realization. The math clicking into place in real time. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the girl left out of the photo. I was the reason they had to take a new one. After the reading, I didn't speak. Not to the lawyer, not to Mom, not to anyone. I signed what they told me to sign and left the building with that numb echoing feeling in my chest again. Like I was still hearing my name being read out loud over and over. Jan Rose Markham Soler. I'd been erased a few days ago, and now suddenly I was the only name that mattered. The foster mom was waiting in the car when I came out. "Guess how it went?" she asked. "It was weird," I said. She didn't push. Honestly, I don't think she wanted to know. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed thinking about Dad, about the way he'd looked the last time I saw him. Frail, but calm, like he was already letting go. He didn't talk much near the end, but when he did, it always mattered. I remember he told me, "You're stronger than they think." Back then, I thought he meant teachers, or maybe my mom. I didn't know he meant everyone. The next morning, the social worker came by with an envelope. I opened it in my room alone. The handwriting was unmistakably his, my father's, sharp, a little crooked from his stiff hands, but steady. He started by saying he was sorry, not for being sick, not for dying, but for not saying something sooner. For letting me grow up thinking I was just someone to tolerate instead of someone who was deeply wanted. He said he found out while he was in the hospital. There had been some kind of mismatch with blood types when he needed a transfusion. One test led to another. And just like that, secrets he'd probably been ignoring for years fell into place. Only one child was biologically his, me. Not Aubrey, not Caleb. Just me. He said he didn't tell anyone because he knew what it would do to the family. He said he was afraid if he confronted Renee, she'd twist it, use it against me, or worse, cut me out of his life entirely. So, he stayed quiet and made plans. "I wish I'd had more time," he wrote. "I should have told you sooner. And I'm sorry I didn't. I just want you to know I saw you, always saw you, and I'm proud of you. I hope this helps give you something I couldn't while I was still here." I folded the letter and held it like it might vanish if I let go. I didn't cry, but something in me cracked open just a little. Later that day, Renee showed up at the foster house. I heard her before I saw her laughing too loudly in the front entryway. like someone trying to sound natural during a hostage negotiation. Jan, she called. Sweetheart, can we talk? I walked downstairs and leaned on the banister. She looked polished, like she'd practiced this in the mirror. She was holding a tote bag I recognized from her Grief Brunch outfit a few days ago. Can I come in? The foster mom looked at me. I nodded once. Renee stepped into the living room like she was walking onto a stage. I've been thinking, she began, and I just want you to know I love you. I've always loved you. I was just overwhelmed. We were all grieving. I said nothing. She smiled a little wider. It's not too late. You can come home. We can fix this now that the house is in my name. I asked. Her expression flickered just for a second. That's not fair. Neither was foster care, I said. She sat down carefully. You're angry. I get that. But I was under pressure. I didn't know what else to do. I tilted my head. So, the solution was to give up the one kid who wasn't throwing fits or wrecking cars. She flinched at that. Aubrey's been through a lot. Yeah, must have been hard. All that grief shopping. Her eyes watered, and for a second, I wondered if she was actually sorry. But then she said, we can go anywhere, do anything. If you want a new room, we can renovate. If you want a trip, just name it. The money's yours after all. There was the real reason. I stood up and walked to the hallway. You should leave. John, you left me first. I said, now you want to fix it because it's convenient. I'm not a guest pass to the estate. I'm your daughter and you gave me away. She opened her mouth again. But I didn't wait around to hear what excuse came next. I went back upstairs, closed the door, sat on the edge of the bed, and tried to breathe. I thought that was the end of it. But the next day, he showed up, Uncle Nate, Dad's younger brother, the fun one, the one who brought me weird birthday gifts, and let me stay up late when he visited. He lived across the country, had no kids, no real responsibilities, just a big heart, a loud laugh, and a chaotic apartment filled with vinyl records and half-dead plants. He wasn't the guy you called when you needed structure, but he was the guy you called when you needed a getaway. And now, here he was, standing on the porch with a duffel bag and a smile that looked nervous for the first time in his life. They wouldn't let me see you right away, he said. Been calling every day since I found out. I had to come. I raised an eyebrow. You know about the will. What will? He asked, genuinely confused. That made me pause. You don't know? He laughed. But it sounded off. Kid, I flew in because someone told me you got dumped into the system. I didn't know anything else. Are you okay? I stared at him. He looked tired and scared and serious. I'm not going to lie, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. I never thought I'd be anyone's guardian. I've spent most of my adult life keeping houseplants alive and failing at that. He looked at me, really looked at me. But when I found out where you were, how it went down, I couldn't just sit there. I don't have some big plan. I don't even know if I'm what you need. But I'd try. If you wanted that, I'd try. Then quieter. And for the record, I didn't know anything about the will. I'm not here for that. For a second, I didn't know what to say. After everything, trusting anyone felt like touching a hot stove. But there was something in his voice I hadn't heard from anyone else. No expectation, no angle, just him showing up. I don't know what I want yet, I said. That's fine, he replied. I'm not going anywhere. And for the first time since the funeral, I almost believed it. Court feels like waiting in line to be judged for a crime you didn't commit. Every day, every hearing, I sat there while adults in buttoned-up clothes discussed where I should live, like I was a math problem. On paper, it looked like a choice between a mother and an uncle. But it wasn't. It was a choice between being owned and being loved. From the outside, though, the lines were blurrier than I expected. Renee, sorry. My mother was trying hard. She showed up in pastel blouses and understated pearl earrings. She cried at just the right moments. She said things like, Jen has always been sensitive, and I never stopped loving her. And it worked. People believed her or they wanted to. Uncle Nate, on the other hand, was trying to be taken seriously for the first time in his life. He bought shoes that didn't match anything he owned and borrowed a blazer from someone with broader shoulders. Every time he stood to speak, he cleared his throat like he needed to convince even himself. "She's not a project to me," he told the judge. "She's my niece. I love her. I want her safe." That's it. Simple, quiet, honest. But it wasn't enough to drown out the noise Renee started generating once she realized she was losing control. First, she tried the guilt angle. She showed up at the foster house with gifts. Things she never bought me when I lived with her. A new phone. A necklace. A bag I'd once complimented in passing. I didn't take any of it. Then she tried kindness. Left voicemails saying how proud she was of me. How strong I'd been. How she'd learned from her mistakes. When that didn't work, she pivoted. Suddenly, she was concerned about Nate. She didn't say the word gay out loud, but she didn't have to. She used phrases like non-traditional lifestyle and unstable home environment. And then she did something worse. Photos started circulating. Screenshots of Nate at a Pride event years ago cropped to look suggestive. One picture had him shirtless in body paint holding a cocktail. It wasn't inappropriate. It wasn't anything, but it was enough to make people raise eyebrows if they were already looking for a reason. There was also a blurry image of someone who might have been Nate hugging someone who might have been half his age. The judge asked him about it. Nate didn't flinch. "I'm gay," he said. "I've never hidden that. I've never done anything to endanger Jan, and I never will." These photos are manipulated, and whoever shared them knows that. He didn't even look at my mom when he said it, but I did, and she looked back at me like we were still playing the same game, like I was still small enough to forget what she'd done 3 weeks ago, like I hadn't been sent away in silence, like she hadn't already chosen to lose me. But that was the thing. I wasn't small anymore. That night, I asked Nate if it bothered him, the way they twisted things. He hesitated, then shrugged. "It doesn't matter what they think. It only matters what you do." I didn't say anything, just nodded. But something inside me settled. The next hearing was worse. Renee had brought in a character witness, someone from her church, talking about how dedicated she'd always been as a mother, how troubled I was lately, how I'd always been a little withdrawn. It was subtle, polished poison sugar. My hand shook under the table, but I didn't show it. When they gave me a chance to speak, I stood. "I'm not withdrawn," I said. "I'm not troubled. I was just never wanted." "Not really." There was a pause in the room. I was told I was strong while being sent away. I was told it was just for a while. Then I watched my family post happy vacation photos without me. I got sent away in silence. But now that there's something in it for them, suddenly I matter. I looked straight at my mother. I'm not going back. I'm not a mistake to fix. I'm not a wallet with feelings. I'm a person, and I'm choosing the one person who chose me first. Before he knew what I had, before I even knew it myself, the room stayed quiet for once. There was no counterargument, no performance, just truth. After that, things moved quickly. The judge ordered final evaluations. They found the photos were doctored, nothing criminal, but clearly an attempt to discredit Nate. The source wasn't named, but we all knew. She didn't even deny it. In the final hearing, the judge was quiet, measured. Then she looked at me and said, "We believe placement with Mr. Nathaniel Markham's in your best interest. Guardianship is awarded effective immediately." I didn't cry. Nate didn't either. But he reached over and squeezed my hand under the table, and I held onto it like a lifeline. Afterward, outside the courthouse, Renee tried to approach me. "Jan," she said, "you don't have to do this. I'm still your mother." I looked at her, really looked at her. "No," I said, "you were my mother when it was convenient. That's not the same thing." She didn't follow me after that. Nate and I didn't celebrate. We went home, ordered Chinese food, and sat on the floor of the new place, surrounded by boxes and mismatched furniture. and the weird yellow couch I picked. It wasn't fancy, it wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Fast forward a few weeks, he handed me a small envelope. I was going to wait, he said, but I think you're ready. Inside was a key to the old house. My house, the one she lost. They've moved out now, he said. We're renting it out, but it's in your name. It belongs to the trust. You don't have to live there. You don't have to look at it. But it's yours and no one can take it from you again. I didn't say anything for a long time, just held the key. Later, I found the letter from Dad again. Read the last line twice. I hope this helps give you something. It did. Not the money, not the house, but this. Knowing I wasn't crazy for feeling unwanted. Knowing someone saw me, all of me, and still believed I was worth something. And knowing now finally I have someone who shows up for me, not because they have to, but because they want to. Sometimes I still think about what would have happened if I said yes, if I'd gone back, if I'd believed her when she said she loved me, when she cried and called me her daughter again, when she made it sound like I was the one walking away. I didn't go back. I said no, and I meant it. But part of me still wonders, did I make the right choice? What do you think? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more stories.